Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. My name is Karu and I'm here because it is international I think. I need to edit that. International Red Panda Day. Um, there we go. Forgot to check that before the stream. It is International Red Panda Day, as I was saying, and I decided that since I actually have a Red Panda coloring book, I might as well color in it. And um, because red pandas are a species that is endangered, there are ways to help them out. And I have picked one, and you can find the link to make a donation towards this charity event in the description of this video. I can hear someone scratching behind me. um, the charity event is for Red Panda Network, and they are dedicated to making sure that these wonderful animals are not poached in the Himalayas, which is their natural habitat. They are endangered mostly due to us. Their natural forests are declining. There are too many humans close to their habitat, and that is putting them in danger. So they are fighting against poaching, and donations made towards that will help them in the fight to keep them safe from harm. So yeah, that is why I'm streaming today. And what I'll be streaming, you can see a little swatch card here. These are my Ohuhu markers, a mix of the illustration and landscape kala sets and the pastel, I believe it's Honolulu 1 set. Doesn't say on the thing. And I have, unfortunately, they didn't fit all in one, so I had to make 2 pages. Yeah, I have this because alcohol markers can be tricky to judge their color by the cap. The Ohuhu markers, I'd say, are relatively good at matching cap to alcohol color, but it can be hard to match them perfectly. They are not always a perfect match. So that is why it is important to have a swatch. And I may have forgotten to open these up so that I can actually see them. I will keep them off the screen because it is a bit difficult for me to move my cam around. And I apologize for any shaking of the cam because my cam is being held up by something attached to the desk, so any movement of the desk tends to shake it. The other thing I forgot before starting to stream was to put honey in my tea, so we're going to start with that. Now, I want to try something a bit different. I've colored a couple pages in this book. This is Amazon paper, so it's not the best quality, but it has the advantage that I don't have to worry about any color seeping through because the other side is blank. I do use a piece of cardstock in black to back the pages and make sure that any seepage doesn't go to the next page. And I've mostly been using this one as a stress relief, just color in, because it's got a lot of details, so shading this isn't exactly very easy. So I actually have a page right here that I finished the other day, working with the pastels only. This part, I think it was actually just the pastels. So you can see I did a bit of shading for the tree trunk there, but the red panda itself only has some on the cheeks, and I did some blending on some of the flowers. Now I want to try layering this time shadows first, kind of do an underpainting, and then I'll put colors on top and see how that works. See, so this is my cardstock. I chose a black cardstock so that way I don't see all of the marker colors starting to seep into this. And it's worked better than, because the Ohuhu markers come with a acrylic board that you can put behind them. But that board is smaller, so it only fits like a quarter of the page, and I forget to move it. And I've had some bleed through accidents happen because I've forgotten to move the sheet. So instead of worrying about that, I have decided that it is best to just put a cardstock that is actually the size and the size of the sheet I'm working with, so I don't have to move it around every time. And hopefully that prevents me from accidentally bleeding onto the other page. Okay, so I was looking at my colors, and I think I'm going to use, since I'm going to be coloring in reds, because I thought of maybe making this red panda a different color, but no, I think we're still going to go with reds. So I'm going to use V230, which might be a bit light, but we'll see, and then 189 for the shadows. Now I have to find them. 230, which happens to be not from the Kala set, and 189. And this was a Kala. So the difference between these two sets is that this one has a brush nib on one side and a chisel nib on the other. And the Kala set, oops, and there it goes. I lost it. It's gone. Oh, all the way to the floor. Shocked that none of the cats came looking for it. So this one has a chisel nib on one side and a bullet nib on the other, which is pretty tiny, and yet it is thick enough that edges, corners can be a bit tough sometimes. So this one's going to be the darker one, so we're going to start with it. Later one. And we will, do I need the brush tip? I feel like I might be able to get away. And I'm going to be generous with the shading. Another thing I've noticed, especially on this paper that is super absorbent, is that the colors go on pretty dark. So this looks really dark right now, but once it dries, it will look a lot lighter. So you kind of have to trust the colors that you're picking. And that they will dry into the lighter color that you know it is. Especially with lighter colors. It seems like the lighter the color, the darker it goes on because of the paper getting wet with the alcohol in the marker. So you can see already this is where it's drying is much lighter than what I've just put in now. And that doesn't mean that my colors are just too dark. It just means that it's wet. And once it dries, it will look much lighter. And I guess we'll see how well these markers overlap in terms of this shading still appearing when we start adding red, because that's my question right here is going to be, is the red going to be too dark to tell where I've added shadows? Or are we going to be able to see this undertone? Once I add the other colors. Some of this, red pandas have some white markings on their face. right. Switch to the other nib now. And this one's in the back, so we're going to border on either side from the light. Gotta make sure you have nice, even coverage. There's one thing I don't like about this paper is the fact that it is so absorbent, because it does feel like you're using a lot more ink to get that even coat. Just gonna follow the line there. A tiny little fruit fly buzzing in my face. So rude. Kind of feather thing down there. The back. So now I'm gonna grab a darker color and start here where it's a bit drier. I actually feel the paper wet on my hand. Add darker purple to the darker areas. And I'm using a feathering motion that makes it blend in better. Especially since these guys are very fluffy. So it kind of simulates the hair. Even though in this case you can't really tell because of all the lines and decorations that this image has. I unfortunately have no idea who the artist of this is, assuming there is an artist and this isn't like AI art or something. This was given to me as a Christmas gift, as family knows I love red pandas, so they wanted to get me a red panda coloring book since I was asking for coloring books. And unfortunately, there's a bit of a lack of red panda related coloring books. I guess I'll have to fix that at some point. Maybe make my own book of red panda coloring. That would be fun. Not sure about the face. That is pretty dark. Hard to flick. want there to still be contrast between the face and the bottom. Though I guess color-wise there will be contrast there too. And you can see even for the details I end up using the chisel nib a lot. I find it easier to do a lot of the flicking and flicking motions for these markers with this chisel nib, and it has a very thin border. I'm not sure if you can. It's extremely thin, which means I can get quite a lot of detail by just switching how much of that is angled towards what I'm drawing. Okay, that looks pretty good. If my camera would refocus. Focus. Doesn't work. Oh shit, I thought I had muted myself, sorry. I happened to look at my mic's volume and it was like moving, and I was like, wait, no, it shouldn't be doing that. Okay, let me see if I can turn off the... Turn it on, and there we go. Much better. Okay, so we have the basic shading, and I use the OK So. I use OK so much that when I edit videos, I actually end up kind of deleting a lot of my OK So's so that in the longer form content on my channel, you're not forced to listen to those all the time. Now, I pick 3 colors, which usually would be my midtone, my highlight, and my shadows, to color in these sections so that I can vary where all the colors go, and then just color them by area. So I'm going to start with the darkest section because I'm really curious as to how this is going to look with the darker colors. And let's see, we'll probably go for RB757. 783 looks good too. Is that RB 783? Oh. And I could keep going to this one, but that's pretty pink. What if I use 872? I can find it. This is the problem with these, splitting them up. It's really hard to keep the colors. Wait, am I blind? Oh, yes I am. It is. I just had to put it in front of me. It's just some of these have like really can't see the number on the caps. Okay, so I want to see these like side by side. I want to make sure there's enough distinction between two are pretty close. Which one is rose red? I like rose red better than tomato. What other color could I pick instead? Maybe go lighter, 688. That feels a bit too light. What if I go dark? 5, 7. Yes. Now I'm kind of hesitating between these two. But I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay. So back to our page. Just keep sliding out. Tuck it in properly. Okay, so we'll start. Do I have these in order of light to dark? Those right here are the lightest. Okay. Gonna start with the darkest one. I think I might need the smaller nib on this one. And I'm going to use this. This is where we're really going to see, because this one is the darkest color, and I honestly don't think that my shadows are going to be visible against it. It's just going to eat up that shadow color and make it disappear. But hopefully with the other colors helping in the other sections, you should still be able to see the undertone. That's what because this one is pretty much as close to black as you can get on the red spectrum. But that's okay. Dark colors in general tend to just not be very colorful. Not going for realism. In that case, you'd have maybe a bit of shine where the light hits it, but not necessarily see the difference between shadow and midtone. See, I went over the line there. These corners are very tight. Sometimes I try just flicking towards the smaller areas. That time, that works sometimes. Okay, we're going to go with darker inside the circles. God, this paper is so absorbent, you can't really tell the difference between these colors. Maybe it's because of the shading. But this is still wet, so hopefully when it dries, it is a bit lighter. It can also be really hard in small areas like this to try flicking and getting the lighter tone of the marker without so much ink on it, because you have to go slow for precision's sake. So you just have to accept that these areas are going to be the darkest color that the color can produce. I'm sure the undertone is also making this look darker, but that was kind of the point. Kind of hoping I'll be able to finish this whole page on the stream today, because I already have 4 work in progresses that I've started this month. I don't want to add a fifth that I'll have to finish. I keep flitting from project to project. I'm also working on a page from Secret Garden. 2 pages from Secret Garden, actually. Because I had started one page, and then I saw Johanna Basford has a contest up to color a specific page as a just move this side to celebrate 10 years since the publication of Secret Garden, which is really impressive. 10 years of making coloring books. It's awesome. And here I am, just starting on my journey. Can you see the shading? Barely. Trying to tell in the darker spots and where the light, the darker. We'll see once it's fully colored and dry. I may just be coping. Okay, so these 2 sections, and then all of the legs basically are going to be in these colors. This is kind of reminding me of how I tend to not do as much layering of pencils, because at the end of the day you can't really tell when you layer like 16 different colors on top of each other. Like, sure, you can if you side by side it, but three colors tends to be more than enough to get some nice variety in your colors. And I am a very impatient person. I feel like you can definitely tell it with this lightest of the reds I'm using. So trying not to overlap too many layers where it's lighter to keep it as light as possible. It can be hard when keeping within the lines though. It does just feel faster and like I have more control using the chisel nib than the bullet nib, even for small areas. Somehow the bullet nib also feels scratchier. Like the material is very tough. Oh, I made a mistake. That's why. It'll look intentional. And we're done because no one knows what I was trying to do. See, no one will be the wiser. Absolutely intentional. Okay. We'll do stripes first. These little scales afterwards. Gonna make sure I actually skip 2 this time. Trying so hard not to go over the lines. Man, those legs blend into each other. Gonna try giving it a bit more shadow. I think that works. Trying to see what the overlap is. Okay, so we still have this back leg. Do the lines first, since those are easiest to tell. How to do a 3-color blend. Might mix it up and make 2 colors here. Coding around polka dots is a bit of a pain in the ass, no matter what you're using, isn't it? So many small areas to get through. At least with marker, you don't have to worry too much about going over it more than once. As if you're using pencils, you have to kind of go back and forth. Right, so the other part that red pandas have dark is right below the eyes. And since I really want the shadows to show up and this doesn't have any markings on it, we're going to go with the lightest of my dark colors. And the inside here. Okay, that is all the dark areas. Now we're going to pick some red to orange colors, I think. Thinking maybe we use yellow red 892 as a darkest. Do I want a red? Because I want the top of the head to be the lightest area, and I might need the lighter colors of orange for that. So maybe I use that as a mid-tone. I can use 586. And 588 maybe, or 393. Let's try 393 first. Back to my little swatch page here at the end. Worried the orange might clash a bit with the other red, but let's see. That one looks pretty good. And yeah, that's what I was thinking. I either use that one or the orange. I keep that one. No, it feels better to leave the orange, but then what am I using? Maybe that one, and I can use that one as the darkest color for the other one. That's yellow red 495. No, that looks too yellow. What about 394? No. The hardest part about picking colors. Got 586. maybe I could use which is the one I rejected earlier. That is the darkest. That honestly might work better. We're going to keep to the more red ones, I think. No. I'm going to go for the orange instead of the... because that will make it a transition towards the more orange parts that I'm going to do for the face. Okay, so these are going to be my 3 for the body. Got tomato red. Oh shit, I think I put the wrong ones out. No, okay. Coral red, French vermilion. So those are going to be my 3 colors. And always start with the darkest, because I can always hide the mistakes I might make with the lighter one. Getting too close to the camera again. It was fine while I was doing things at the bottom of the page. Definitely seeing more of the effect of the undercolor shading now with these lighter colors. This thing keeps slipping out. And at the top. Oh shit. You gotta live with your mistakes with the marker. Every time my mind starts to wander, gotta be careful. It's always where I start putting the marker down that tends to blot out across the line. Try not to sweat it too much because between the shading and these colors being so similar that once everything's colored in, it's kind of hard to tell where you went out of the lines. And if I have too much bleeding, like excessively outside of the lines of a particular drawing, like around the edge of the red panda, once I'm done, I would just grab a thick ink pen and just darken the lines on the outer edge, and that would mask any of those errors. Because depending on the paper especially, markers tend to bleed even when you're trying your best to stay within the lines because the paper keeps absorbing the alcohol and spreading it out. Which is why it's important to keep your touch light on the paper and try not to put too much ink down. Okay, we have one last section left, and I left this one so that I could explain my reasoning for where I place the colors. I have 3 markers, so I want to go every other 3, and the best way to do that, sometimes it can be difficult because it's not perfectly drawn, but you kind of have to go in angles on these. And you can see where there's like a straight line in an angle. And that's the angle I use as my reference for where I'm putting things down. So this has 3 on that one. So if I go and color this one, then I know I'll do this separately so you can see. I grab the second color, and this is the line I'm following. And then I grab my third color. You can do it that way if you're absolutely not sure where the lines are going. And then I want the above and the below to have the darkest between the 2 light colors. So that one's going to be dark. This one's. And that gives you the maximum distance between colors. So then this one over here is going to be light between the 2 darkest colors. This one's going to be. And then we grab the mid-tone, the last one. And now you have the max separation between each color. Whoop! And the marker went flying again. So hopefully that was easy to understand. And then what I usually do is, because I like to not have to switch colors, I just pick out the ones that are dark. So we've got on this line, that goes there, as it's between those two. And then I leave 2 for the other colors. I color this one. And then, see, this one is not perfect because this one should be between these two only, and there's a bit of overlap. So that's going to happen because sometimes the lines are not perfect. So you got to just pick an offset. Essentially, whichever one I choose is going to be touching one of these two. So that one, and those will be the other colors. So now I can choose this one. As it's between those two. Okay, and then this one's easy because it's between the 2 white ones. Ones are getting a bit wonky, but that's the line there. So this one's dark. There we go. Finished with the dark color. Then the mid-tone is always to the right of the dark color. That one might have actually been. Nope, nope, we're good. Okay. There we go. And then all that's left is filling in the empty ones. Hold on. I think we're going to make this cheek still the color of the back of the body, and then I'll use the lighter colors for the face where the fur tends to be lighter. Now, because this is still the face and we want it to be light, I'm going to use the lightest color for the big area. Then I think we're going to do light on top, even though that's kind of going up again. But I want the gradient to be towards dark. Okay. And I'm going to do both of these here because I'm going to only keep the darkest color very last loop instead of looping around to the lightest. So we have a gradient. Oh, I missed that one there. Only gets one. Goes two. Okay. And go back and fill that missing loop. And the deepest right in the center. Okay. So the ears are meant to be white around the central darken area, and that leaves us with just this area. So we're going to keep the orange as my darkest now, and I'm going to pick out some orangey yellows. I want to go more peachy, I think. Just to keep that like that one. Well, that seems a bit light. A bit too peach. No, I could go with the central one. I really like that color. That's yellow 120 with yellow red 240. These two. So let's try this out. And you can see the bleeding there, but that's the back of the book. I don't really care. Okay, let's see. That is 394. Okay, that looks good. That's 240. And that's a bit close. don't know if we can go lighter than that. It's 120. That was the first color I picked up. 195 is lighter. That is yellow 195. Let's see if this is lighter. Yeah, that'll work. So I think I'm going to do that in only the center here, and then maybe I'll mix in a darker color for the side lines. So which one is my darkest? This one. Okay, so that's the order. We're going to keep this one to the side. I'm not sure if I want to use it yet. I'm going to go darker. I want this to be light, so this one darker. Yeah. And these are lighter colors. You can really tell the difference when it goes on. It is so dark. And it lightens up as it dries. Just gotta trust in your palette that it'll look good once it dries. Sometimes I end up thinking it dried too light. And I have to go over it again with another pass to get some more ink down on the paper. Try and darken it. And these pastel colors are really pastel. They're so light they can only layer so much, which isn't a problem. More of a feature, I'd say. It's too bad there's no real shading on the forehead so we could see it below these light yellow colors. The one place it would be most obvious though. Over that bottom color a bit. Hopefully it's not noticeable when it dries. Might leave a streak there. I don't think you can actually tell it with the cam. It's too light. Yeah, it looks kind of green now because of the black paper in the background seeping through. Okay, so that was really light. I almost feel like it's too light. But I'm not sure I can do much about that. I think it's fine if I use the darker colors for the sides to kind of make it blend towards the darker colors. but I am going to need to pick out one color. Go between these two, I think. Because I'm using, oh, that was eggshell. I have to use that one. I'm hesitant to use that one because it's a bit yellow. What if I did use 360? I just feel like that is so bright. I'm kind of running out of options here. Maybe 493. Test that one. Yeah, that does look better. And then we'd be using this one as the darkest. Yeah, it's still a bit dark, but I think that works. I think that'll do. So this one's kind of wonky. Because you can't really see where the lines are. So I'm going to try using more of the orange towards the side. Okay. Let me use the dark. Technically my mid-tone. Darker of the two ones left. Okay. And then finally, eggshell. But here's a question for all of you still watching this. A red panda is blue. Is it a blue panda? Or is it a blue red panda? I don't know. Just crashing my stream here, huh? What are you doing? No, no. Go to your box. You have a box on my table for a reason. Okay, I think I managed that pretty well. Got the lighter tones on the face, got the lighter color on the back, and then the dark color on the bottom. What a pretty red panda. Now, in terms of shading, it's hard to see. Honestly, I can see some of it. In real life, you can kind of see it there on the face and behind the ear. It is pretty subtle, especially like, yeah, you can kind of see it here too. So it kind of works. I don't know if I want to add color to the white parts because I like the like stark white with the just the violet shading. Even though those areas do have little designs on them. Unless I used like some really light peach and just did a bit. I think the lightest color I own in those peachy red tones would be R08. But do I want to risk it? If I start, I'm going to have to add all of it. Ow! Ooh, I don't know if you heard that, but you probably saw the desk. I just banged my desk with my elbow. Oof. That took me an hour and a half, and I still have all of the background flowers and the tree trunk. Dear God. I do need a break. Apparently, I have a mandated cat break. Right. Ira, you are on cam now. Upside down because my cam is upside down. God, you can tell I have the lighting set to really bright for the whites. Okay. No, don't rub against the camera. No, not the mic either. Come on, cat. Okay. Now he's just climbing into my arms, purring away. He's like, Mother, you have been drawing for 1 hour and a half. You have to stop and give me scritches. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it white instead of adding some peach. I really like how it looks white. I feel like at most I would try to use a blue, but honestly, my lightest blue is still pretty dark. And I feel like that would still clash with the purple. And then my other option would be using the purple, but if I use the purple, I'm breaking down the shadow areas by coloring using the same shadow color. So I think I'm just going to leave it white. I do kind of want to color the background on this. I haven't colored the background of these pages, mostly because I have been using my alcohol markers, and I really don't want them to run out by just abusing a color in the background. But especially because I'm leaving the white ears, it almost feels like I should color the background. I wonder if I could pull off, just because of how big this is, some shading. If it didn't have all this, I could do like a sky with different blues, but because that is there, I have to go like between them. But I could maybe start with like a darker blue and then go to lighter blue. So I'm not using the same pen marker for all of it. If I did that, maybe I could use B250 and then transition to B120 and then B220. I think that would work. Or my other option would be using the medium grays down here. And I don't really want to start too dark because of how dark the red panda is down there. I suppose I could go from light to dark. That would be an option. Go light here against the black, darker, and then as we get to the top of the page, go darker. That's an option. I still don't think I would want to go that dark. And I think I would like to use more blues than grays, so let's see. Got my blues. So we said 120, 220, they were right beside each other, and 250 was almost right beside each other. Whoa! I don't have as many blues then I have yellows and reds, so that was easy. I bet 220 is lighter than 120. It's so random. Okay, so we said we'd start light. I'm nervous, but I'm gonna do it. What is that? Is that supposed to be? No, I don't think so. I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm gonna ignore that line, and I'm gonna color over it. All right, so I'm gonna use the brush tip to go around these circles. Love how dark this looks. This is my lightest blue. But while it's wet, it still looks pretty dark. I gotta work fast before all of this dries so it doesn't leave a streak. So just gonna leave myself a pencil mark. So around here, I need to transition the first time, and then we're gonna transition here for the second one. Might as well put side 2. And that'll give me a reminder as to where I have to start flicking. See, I had to go over the lines there, and it kind of has a line there, but I'm hoping once everything dries, it won't be visible, hopefully. Please. That's why I like using the chisel tip. I can get better coverage. Make sure everything is saturated the same amount with ink and marker. I realize I'm going from light to dark, and usually it's better to do dark to light, but I think I'm just gonna get. How am I gonna do that? Probably should be starting from the top. I just need to keep going. No, no one out the way. Good job. I guess I'll flick with the other one downwards. I'm going to go over the line a bit. Just for a blending area, basically. Get capture on everything. Neither of my cats like being brushed, so they groom themselves, and that's pretty much it. We never give them brushies. We have cat hair all over the house. You kind of get used to it. You get numb to it. Whatever, it's cat hair. Not the end of the world. That's the other thing about doing big areas like this. Your marker kind of dries, especially on this paper, before you finish the whole area. So I'm afraid of leaving too much streaks. Like I have to keep re-wetting where I've gone over things, just to keep things nice and smooth. Don't want any lines. Okay, hopefully that worked. And then we're going to go over this area a bit. And then we're going to grab 220, nope, 120. Send it down. Switch to this. Paper's so scratchy, I'm always hesitant to use my brush nib because I'm afraid it might ruin the brush. But these have reversible brush nibs, so if one side starts fraying, you can pull it out gently and turn it around. On the other side, you'll have a brand new nib, which I think is a great feature of the Oohoo markers. Trying to work as fast as I can. The more it dries, the more I have to go over areas just to prevent streaks. you. And as fully colored. And now I'm basically racing against how fast this freaking page dries to avoid streaks. Keep going back over areas that have already dried with the pen to avoid streaks, but like if it is absolutely bone dry, you end up with a pretty noticeable alcohol streak.
It's one thing, and that's another.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of something. I try to stop at like smaller areas, so if there is a streak, it's harder to see.
So you, as the artist, will ever always see everyone.
I mean, yeah. Because the only other way is going like layering, just doing 2 layers. But I don't really want to use that much of this marker. Which is why most of these pages I haven't colored the background, but I figured today I'd make an exception. This also has like a lot of like flowers and stuff, so
you just gotta get the blue done first.
It's not like I'm using blue for a lot of area. I'm also using 3 different blues, so basically a third of the page.
Oh, okay.
So this.
Oh yeah, you're making gradient, I see.
Yeah. So here I'm mixing. Flicking downwards. Yeah, you can see the gradient on the other area where it's dried.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting how dark these look when they're wet because of the alcohol. Also, this page is so absorbent, it is hard to stay within the lines because you stay within the lines, but then
it seeps over across the line?
Yep. And it really depends on how much ink you've put down on the page, so it's not like you could leave a border and just let it seep to the edge.
Yeah.
Wow. That just seeped right into the circles.
Like you were just explaining.
Yeah. Oh well. We'll chalk it up to shading. Oh, it's almost dinner time, isn't it? We'll have to see if that middle area dries and doesn't streak because there's not much I can do now besides recoloring the whole area to get that area done. I think I'm going to turn this around just to get the area I'm doing. Yeah, you can kind of see streaks. It is so hard. That way I can start from the top and work my way down. I guess the other reason for not doing backgrounds is how hard it is to not get streaks. Wish I could be more careful with the bleeding, but because of how fast I have to go to avoid streak points, I can't afford to be too careful. Which likely means I'll probably go for darker colors, just so I can hide a bit of the areas where I've had to go over the lines. Stay away from yellows and whites. To make the leaves and greens, it should be fine. And blue will meld into it. Okay. My other option would be to use the colorless blender to kind of erase some of that. And I might do that for some of the flowers that I want to do in lighter colors. Kind of fleck into the areas that are dry. Okay. And click in the areas with the most streakiness. And now we just have to let that dry, and I hope I did a good job with blending. The blending down here looks okay. And otherwise, that looks pretty good. And now, as much as I would like to at least do the wood at the bottom, I am at the 2-hour mark and it is dinner time and I'm the cook. So I'm going to leave it there. I think I got pretty far. I'm just going to have to finish up the leaves and the trunk, and then I can call this page done. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you are able to, think of following the link in the description and donating money to a good cause to keep these beautiful creatures from going extinct. I know I would be incredibly sad if red pandas ceased to exist. So hopefully can all help red pandas. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe learned something about working with markers. Alcohol markers, that is. But yeah, this is the coloring book. It's called Red Panda Coloring Book. Unfortunately, it does not have an author, which makes me suspicious. But because this was given to me as a gift, I don't mind. Also, it's red pandas. So yeah, it's one of those, there's a lot of these type of books on Amazon. You never know. I can recognize the images these were based off of because they're pretty popular red panda pictures. Maybe not all of them, but yeah. But yeah. I go back to the one we worked on. And I'll see you next time. Bye.